Welcome to the DigiKnow Podcast, episode 1. And because it's episode 1, we're taking it back to Marketing 101 with a marketing subject that is as timeless as the dinosaurs, branding. And speaking of branding, here with me in the studio today is Stephanie Prince from ESPN, the only 4-letter sports station that everybody knows when you say, hey, what's that 4-letter sports station? Stephanie, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Thank you for being here. I'm doing fantastic. For those of you who don't know, ESPN is the worldwide leader in sports. Everybody knows that name. They have branded themselves well, and that's why we wanted to start off with ESPN in our studio to talk about branding. Stephanie Prince oversees ESPN marketing, advertising, and digital operations in 42 states, including major markets like Miami, West Palm Beach, Atlanta, Milwaukee, Cleveland, etc. And we're very excited to have her with us today.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
So, Stephanie, branding. I feel like that term has a stigma related to it, and I wanted this episode to kind of shoot down that stigma, if you will. I feel like when you hear the term branding, you think of like old school TV and old school advertising and, you know, just old school advertising practices. And I really feel like branding is nothing more than creating top of mind awareness. And that is important for your business, and that's important for your service. And sure, it was important to create top-of-mind awareness in the golden days of TV and radio, but it's still important to create top-of-mind awareness for your business today, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and I think, to your point in terms of, the old school, quote unquote, traditional ways, now consumption's changing. Consumption is moving into the digital space. You're always on your phone. We're doing a podcast that is, the digital space. So now you have to just shift your mindset and put your brand in front of the people that are consuming the mediums that they're consuming. And it's on a much larger scale now is the digital medium,
right.
Not fashion.
So let's take your vertical for a second, sports, right?
Sure.
You've got, I'm not going to name them all, but just off the top of my head, you've got Fox Sports 1, you've got Fox Sports Network, you've got MLB TV, you've got the NFL Network, you've got the NBA Network, you've got the NHL Network, you've got others I'm not naming right now, and of course you have ESPN. And so, look, at the end of the day, Fox Sports 1 has shows in time slots that are supposed to be competing with similar style shows during the ESPN time slots. So at the end of the day, if I'm a consumer and I want to watch sports broadcasting, I have all these options at my disposal. The question is, who am I going to watch? And that's where branding comes in. 9 times out of 10, when we think sports broadcasting, the ESPN name is the first one we remember because for so long, ESPN has done such a great job of branding their name to create that top-of-mind awareness where it's the first station that becomes synonymous with sports in your mind. What's ESPN's take on that?
I mean, it is. If you think about it, not even just watching TV, it's when you think of sports, the next thing you think of is ESPN. Tiger Woods won the Masters this past year, right? That was on CBS. No one the next day is going to CBS Sports to watch it. They're going to ESPN because that's what they know, and that is what is synonymous with sports. So ESPN has done a great job, and they continue to invest back into branding their name, and, they continue to stay at the top.
At the end of the day, our dealers sell the same cars in the same colors, with the same options and the same accessories for the same prices as the next guy. What's the difference, right? So part of our job when branding the name of one of our dealers is to not only create that top-of-mind awareness, but have that that name recognition be synonymous with some sort of a point of differentiation at the dealership. Why should I buy that car from you instead of the other guy down the street? What extra value are you going to bring to the table if I purchase that vehicle from you instead of the other guy who has that exact same car down the road, right? But branding still exists today as well. It's not an old-fashioned stigma. It still exists today as well. There are people who are not in the market to buy a car right now. But for whatever reason, their life circumstances will dictate that they will be in the market to buy a car 6 months from now. They might not be in the market to buy a car today, but the question is, what name are they going to hear over and over and over again? What name are they going to see over and over and over again? And what are in their mind are they going to have as synonymous with that name that they're hearing and seeing over and over again, where 6 months from now, when their life circumstances suddenly dictate that they're in the market to buy a car, your dealership is the first name they remember to search for on Google or Bing or whatever search engine, right? Same concept today as it was 50 years ago.
Right. And really, you want to be in the small consideration set for when that person is in the market and looking for a car and ready to purchase. But you just think about it, right? You see something on TV or on digital, on a website, on ESPN, and you see it over and over and over, and it becomes more top of mind for you and generates that awareness. So when you don't want to go and have someone looking for a car. If they're looking for a Toyota, you don't want them to say Toyota West Palm Beach or Toyota Miami. How many other people are competing in that same space, and what's going to make them click on you versus, the guy next to you? You want them Googling your name of your dealership, and the way in which you can get them to do that is to continue to brand your dealership and get your name out in front of that. So you're proactively marketing your brand.
So let's talk about that for a second. You use Toyota, so we'll stick with the Toyota example.
Yep.
So I don't believe that anybody sitting at home watching TV sees a commercial, jumps up off the couch, and goes and buys a car.
Right.
But you are planting a seed. You're planting the name of your business into their mind. And hopefully you're saying it with enough frequency, and you're reaching a large enough audience, and your message is exciting enough or compelling enough or different enough where it cuts through the clutter and can be remembered, so that when that person who once upon a time was sitting on the couch watching TV and they saw your commercial, they might not necessarily remembered what your commercial said or what your special event was or what your price was, but they remembered your name.
Yep.
And now they're in the market to buy a car, and they go on Google and they do a Google search for your name, or they do a Google search for your product. Let's face it, nobody's going to go on Google or Yahoo or Bing or whatever, okay, and search for a car or search for a car dealership unless they're in the market for a car.
Right.
Otherwise, they wouldn't make that search. And so the question is, what are we doing now from a branding standpoint to create that top of mind awareness so that they do that Google search for us later instead of the other guy? And that's the point of all this.
Right.
Let's call time out and pause to acknowledge our sponsor. If you sell cars, we'll make your ads. Chumney & Associates will make your car ads. All right, we're back to DigiKnow Podcast, Episode 1. Stephanie Prince from ESPN in the studio talking about branding. I want to close out here with a comment about branding on the guerrilla marketing side of things, if I can, Steph.
Okay.
So if you are any type of advertiser, especially an automotive advertiser, you may have come across somebody along the way, maybe an agency, maybe a digital provider, maybe a keynote speaker somewhere, maybe a consultant who has said it is a waste of money for you to bid on your own name on the search engines. Okay? And I guess the school of thought is if your SEO practices are up to snuff, you don't need a paid result on the search engines. Your organic indexing will handle it for you. And I understand the argument, but here's why I fundamentally disagree with that. And if you're watching or listening to this, here is why we believe at Chumney & Associates it is not a waste of money to bid on your own name on the search engines. As a matter of fact, it's the very first thing you should be doing. And here's the reason why. Think about the consumer for a second. When a consumer goes, let's use Google. When a consumer goes on to Google and they search for your dealership by name, Google is going to show them somebody. It might as well be you. Okay,
right.
That's number one.
Right.
Number two, as the consumer, I am looking for you. I am actively looking for you. I'm not looking for the guy down the street. I'm not looking for a competitor. I'm looking for you. So be there. Now, I can tell you, now we call those kinds of, when we bid on the exact match phrase of a DBA, we refer to that in our SEM campaigns as a branding campaign, okay?
Okay.
I can tell you, 100 times out of 100, the performance on our SEM branding campaigns is always the highest performing conversion, the most amount of clicks, and the least amount of cost. And when you add that up with the fact that the search engines are going to show them somebody, it might as well be you instead of the competitor, and the fact that the customer is looking for you, be there for them, we believe that best practices dictate it is not a waste of money to bid on your own name. As a matter of fact, that's the very first thing you should be doing, and you should be dominating for all the reasons I just said. And in closing, I'd just like to get ESPN's take on that in the sports vertical.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you look at marketing as a funnel, which we all know it starts at the top and it's wider at the top, your branding, you want to put people in that funnel, and as they go down, you want to be efficient. Be at the top of the list when people are Googling your name or using Bing or whatever search engine they're using.
Did you know branding is just as important today as it was back in the day, creating that top-of-mind awareness so that people remember you first instead of remembering your competition? Did you know? You probably did, but in case you didn't, now you do. Thank you for listening and or watching to DigiKnow Podcast, Episode 1 Branding with Stephanie Prince from ESPN. Stephanie, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.